Obviously my first question for you is, I think you did this shot maybe almost 2 years ago, or maybe a little less. Um,
Yeah.
well, do you remember having a good time? Was it a
Oh,
fun experience?
great time. Great time. Great time. I miss it. We're still on a text thread that we were on, I think, for the entire shoot, and we're all still on that text thread. Something that I never want to erase. I've said this before, but it's rare when you can, especially it was all women and Joe, where
Yeah.
you can have a company of actors that become friends. It's rare. There might be one person that you can communicate with, maybe for the rest of your career, maybe not, maybe until
Hmm.
it, the shine dulls, whatever. This was very special, and I mean, it has to do with Jack's casting and Catherine's leadership, and Jack and Catherine's leadership, and the fact that we were different enough that we complemented each other, personality wise, and there was no threat. There was just support and love and good times. Good times.
So when the project came your way, did Jack let you know that your character had this episode, had this moment that would happen in the series? Or was it just, hey, come be part of this, and then when you got the script, you realized, oh wow, look at this amazing episode.
Right. Well, she did tell me that each of the witches had a trial, and she told me that Lilia's trial would be a tarot reading, and that's all she said. I did, and then the first question I asked her was, "Do you have your scripts written?" Because my experience in television is,
Mhm.
flying by the seat of my pants. You know,
Yeah.
you have no idea what episode 4 is going to be, and episode 3. It could be a totally different character. You have no idea. And she had all her episodes written, which is very unusual for TV.
Yeah.
And we also got together and read all of the episodes. So all of us had the ability to ask questions and start to understand the arc of the series and each other, and individually our characters, and that's very rare, and I don't understand why they don't do it, because you save so much time when you're on set.
Well,
And that's money, but
in theory, in the streaming world, they do it more these days, but still, I'm sure even while you were making this, you were getting changes maybe to scenes the next day. No? Never.
um very few, if there were any. Jack is a very specific writer. Yes, exactly. She's
That's
a very specific writer. She wrote a puzzle. It would have been difficult to change. I mean, there might have been, an adverb or a verb in there, but no. And I've said this before. I wished I had been a better reader, because I did ask a lot of questions, but I may have forgotten the answers by the time we got to the scenes. But I wished I had been a better reader to understand that all the answers to my episode were laced into all of the episodes before my episode. But not knowing Jack's writing, except for one division, and not knowing the puzzle, it was hard to fully understand when I got to 7 that you all of it's hindsight. What is hindsight is 2020.
2020. Well, wait, I was going to ask about that. So I rewatched the episode last night, and there's moments where it cuts back to you having these moments in previous episodes, which in theory in traditional television production, you would have shot back then as well when you shot those original scenes.
Which
Is
we did.
You did. So did you feel like you were making a puzzle? Did it feel like a movie, like you were making a puzzle and this is going to be inserted somewhere else down the road and you'll remember it
Yes,
then?
but my point is, I and I've been thinking about this, and it's 2 years later, but I think that's the that's what actors will do. They'll go back and go, "Oh, I wished I could have." Um, the bops, as they were called, may have had more weight if I understood 7 better. That's all I'm saying.
I
That's
think
all.
you're being I think you're being too hard on yourself because I did watch
Well,
it last night and
I'm
I
gonna.
actually I feel you feel the weight. I think very much. It's such a moving episode. Even I think I've seen it now 3 times. Like it's so moving. And I did you realize that it would when you guys were reading all the scripts that this would be the maybe the one of the emotional heavyweights of a show that had all sorts of different tones to it?
No, I don't think we did. I mean, no, because Billy gets, Billy's gonna die. I mean, that that was pretty heavy. Deborah Joe sinks in mud. I mean, the fear of the road. I mean, there was a lot to deal with. I think when we were shooting it, oh, I could cry right now. The thing that struck us all, the thing that struck us all was when I said I loved being a witch.
Yeah.
I think that's when we all went, oh God, oh my God, the inevitability of the death of all of us except for Jen and Billy. But the idea that it was more than just being a witch. I mean, it was a coven.
Hmm.
It was a coven of friends outside of the coven of witches. You know what I mean? We were all together. All of us were on the road. So all of us, we found ways to spend time with each other because we didn't know anybody and only knew each other. And so we would go out to dinner in Atlanta, or there would be a pool party and a dinner, or there would be a screening of something. I had the house I was renting had a screening, big screen. So that line was weighted with the event that we were all going through. This was episode 7. There was 8 and 9 left. Um, we'd already lost Allie. Um, we were losing me. We lost Deborah Joe. The last two were going to be Aubrey and Catherine. Um, so it was sort of a finality in that part of the episode where we all realized, oh wow, this is heavy. This is heavy. But I don't know whether we actually thought that in the overall of the episode. I mean, there's so many different stories going on. Sashir and I we didn't have the opportunity to really work with each other until that episode.
Oh, wow.
And because we're all working individually, we might have an exchange of 1 or 2 lines, but I worked, primarily with Sashir in that episode. And it was wonderful. And I said to her while I was working, I said, I don't have to do anything except look in your eyes. It was we had it was a unique collection of women. And I miss it. I miss it. I think we were the predecessors of Charlie's Angels.
I love that. I do. There is this hope. The show for Emmys has been qualified as a comedy series, not a limited series, which could mean something back down the road that these characters could come back. And I know that I think Jack has said that it would only be for the right story or that something that they could figure out. But is there a hope that these characters could return in some way, that you could pop up in some way down the road, or is it sort of
Well,
like
I have to tell you, we never see Lilia land.
no?
Nope. Also, Kevin Feige came and saw me in the Roommate on Broadway. When he came backstage, I told him, "You know what you should do on every single of your Marvel movies? You should have Lilia falling in a corner."
What did he say?
Laughed. Would it be a riot if all of a sudden this big thing is just floating? It's one of those superhero movies. I don't know. I don't know how Marvel works. And I'm famous for saying I have no idea what Marvel is, and I still don't. Um, I don't know a lot about nothing. That's me. So I'm not a Marvel expert. Sashir was and Joe was, or are. Um, I mean, I have no idea. It'd be fun. Because don't they shoot in London now? Anything to get me back to London.
Yes,
Is it?
they have basically left Atlanta and they're mostly in London. But we're hoping, maybe they might come back to Los Angeles down the road. Like we
Oh
need some stuff
God,
out here.
what's going on with LA? Jesus,
I mean,
the Dream Factory is the Dream Factory that made that city.
it's I'm sure on Broadway there's I think it is the comparison of all the private companies, investors investing into shows maybe on Broadway. Maybe like I have friends who invest in shows and I'm like, how on earth are you investing and getting Tony nominations for whatever? It's sort of like that now in Hollywood. It's so media company that it's so infiltrated that it used to be that the people running the studios could push them off a bit. No, not anymore. It's all the bottom line. It's all the dollars. Anyway, sorry for that. But
No, but that's a big problem for actors. We're low men on the theatrical totem pole, and I can't believe that. I'm a trained actor, 4 years at Juilliard, 4 years on the road with the acting company, and I don't have I don't have a social media following and stuff like that. So my ability to get hired as a trained actor is so much less than somebody that has 2 million people on TikTok or 2 million people on whatever. It's terrible. But I've always thought that. I've always thought that this country doesn't support its art or its artists, and everybody thinks you can act when it's a really difficult profession to do well.
but you know this, Patty, you know they don't last. You know that it's a flash and then they're gone.
Yeah, not soon enough for me.
But wait, I have to follow up on the Marvel thing. So I remember, and my friends, we all thought this was very funny at the time. You were doing some red carpet interviews, and people would ask you about what Agatha was, and you would say, "Oh, it's a musical," and we're like, "Oh wow, really? Marvel's big." Were you having? And clearly, there is a song in the show. Were you having a wink and fun, or did you think you were going into the show and it had more songs in it than it actually ended up doing?
Oh no, I know it didn't have any more songs in it, but they talked about Bobby and Kristen, and I went, yeah, they were singing in it. I think that's all I said. But I got in trouble with anything I said with Marvel. As a matter of fact, when we were just recently at the Globe Awards, when we won for Best New Show, I went, because I was there with Jack and Billy, I mean, with Joe and Sashir, and who else was there? I think that was it. Um, uh, we're about to walk the red carpet, and I found out that we won. I said, "We won?" And Jack said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh my God, when did that happen?" She said, "Well, I knew, but I can't tell you because you can't keep a secret." I went, "You're right. Why keep a secret when you have the information?"
Listen, I'm a journalist and I can't do either, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah. It's just I
Um,
got in a lot of trouble with Marvel by saying stuff. But here's the thing about press agents and press people. They should tell you your parameters before they put you in front of journalists. I always get yelled at after the fact. Like, I don't know what I'm not supposed to say. It's always been, please, we don't want you to, because I got in trouble with and just like that. Because I said something about and just like that, and they went, "We'd rather Patty not say anything." Well, tell me that before you put me in front of press.
yeah, you would think we could give some parameters. I
Yeah,
do
exactly.
I just so you make the show, and the episodes come out, and people, the Marvel fan base is very fickle, and I know you're on social media, but maybe only to an extent. Were you surprised, happy with not just the reaction to the show, but this particular episode? Did your press agents, did your friends let you know how much love there was for it?
Yeah, they did. I don't know why, Greg. I don't know why. Maybe it's the. I don't know why. I'm an actor interpreting, and
Yeah.
I'm so in it. I'm not observing it. Um, of course, we're thrilled, and I'm thrilled that it's a powerful episode for people. Um, but I don't know why. Can you tell me?
I just think it's moving, and to be honest, out of all the characters, she has Shahira, Shahira's character also has the deepest arc of
Got
all
it.
of them.
Yeah.
And I think by the time you get there, you're so rooting for her because you want her to make it through the road, and the characters are dying. You want her to make it, and then she finds her way, but that means she's likely dying to reach that. So I think that's what moves people. And also your performance. And it's the one episode where you see such a backstory to her character
Yeah, of course, yeah.
when you go back to Italy in the 400 years ago.
And it's about the coven. It's about finding your people, finding your tribe, finding your place, and
Yeah,
love supporting
I-
that. Yeah, I understand that. I totally understand that. Look at where we are now. I mean,
yeah.
it's so divisive.
It is so divisive. The world is a crazy place. But shows like this do give people joy. I sort of take a solace in that there are things out there that make people happy. I have to ask you just one quick question before I let you go. Because I asked my friends, I'm talking to the legendary Patti LuPone. What do you want me to ask? And they want me to ask a question which I know you do not want to hear, so I will not ask it. But they want to know what you think of Sunset Boulevard, which you
It's
have.
fantastic. I've said it a million times. It's fantastic. I've said it a million times. She's one of the 100 most influential people I think on in Time magazine, and I wrote this thing about her. You know, I'm a Tony voter, so I have to see
Yeah.
everything. And I didn't know what I was going to see with Sunset Boulevard. I'd heard. I'd never seen Nicole or Tom perform before. I didn't really know who Jamie Lloyd was. I hadn't seen any of his work. And when it started, and I took my son because my son was a kid when we were in London. He was quite young. He said, "I want to go with you, Mom," because this was my experience of like learned how to talk, came up with a British accent. He would be backstage with me in the matinees. Um, when it started with Tom coming out of the body bag, you know, the character, whatever the character's name, I can't remember. I went, oh God, here we go. That was the only time I went, Lee. Then I went, what am I watching? Watching. This is incredible because it was a departure from the homage our production paid to the film, and so I thought we were I hampered by that. It was also a very lumbering score when I did it. You know, Andrew Lloyd Webber doesn't give a shit about anything but his music, and it was, you know, the slower the better. It's like, oh my fucking God, this is a play. Let's keep it moving. And once the house came down and went back up again, that was it. So when it comes down to halfway, who cares? You know what I mean? So, and this was so inventive, so wild, and you knew that it was Sunset Boulevard, but it didn't speak to a particular year. It didn't speak to a particular, you know, period of time. And she was stunning. Her mad scene alone, and this is what
Yeah.
Jamie Lloyd did so brilliantly. She's alone on the stage, sitting in Indian position or yoga position, let's say yoga position. And she does that mad scene by herself, and it's in the light around her. I mean, and it's heartbreaking. Her performance is audacious, courageous. She commands the stage, as does Tom, and it's his first,
Yeah.
you know, theater. But of course, I'm looking at Nicole. The girl that played Betty was fantastic. I was thrilled to see a reinvention of what is basically not a great musical.
And it's hard to turn a not a great musical into something better.
They did. You know, I've seen some revivals and going, really?
Hmm.
Um, this was stunning.
Well, so wait, I have one last follow-up for you because I think what I surprised a bunch of my other friends is, you know, the Dorian Gray play just came with Sarah Snook, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's another play that uses a lot of video, and it seemed like the New York critics sort of had quote unquote enough of the video and sort of like, you know, gave it a little like slap on the wrist for too much of that. Do you think there is a line where for Broadway and the stage that there can be too much video, or do you think that people need to creatively allow the medium to sort of be more open to accept it?
I don't know. I think it depends on who the director is. I mean, I don't necessarily like multimedia on stage because I don't know where to look unless it's
Mm.
well done. Unless it's well done. When I saw Warhorse at Lincoln Center, and Marianne Elliott, that came from the National. It was a dual production. I mean, a dual directing, dual directors. The media in that, the video in that was stunning. Oh, I'm trying to think of another place where the video it works well. I can't think of it offhand, but when it enhances the production and I know where to look,
Mm.
then I don't mind it. But if it is in the way of the actor on stage, if it overpowers the actor on stage, then I'm no longer in the theater, but then I don't know where I am.
Mm.
I don't know what kind of theater I'm supposed to be experiencing. So I don't object to it as long as it does not overpower the actor on stage.
Well, Patty, thank you so much for taking the time. I cannot wait to see. I don't know what you're doing on stage next or in screen or theater, but hopefully something's. I know you just did The Roommate, so I'm assuming you have something upcoming for the next year. But
No, but tell everybody out there I need a job.
I will, because I want to see you. I want to see you on Broadway. Thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck with this. Totally rooting for you to get a nod for this, and hope you have a